Okay, I'm going to show you guys a really quick demo of the new version 2 Meshery, which basically folds all of the course terrain tool functionality into Meshery. I'll show you what I mean there. So I'm going to open it for the first time. It's going to prompt me to install tools, a lot like course terrain tool did. We need these big PDAL and GDAL libraries to process LiDAR and satellite imagery and things. This stuff will take a while, but it should fix a few issues we had in the past. It takes about half as much space, and it should let you install it anywhere. It's basically going to install it into the path that the app is in. So the issue people had with spaces in the names can be resolved by just placing the Meshery folder somewhere else on your computer without spaces. So this will take a while. I'm going to probably fast forward most of this installation, but it will do this step to download and then install the tools, which does take quite a while. So okay, so once you get through that, it should be long but fairly painless. You should be ready to go with Meshery. So you see I've already got a couple projects that I started in a previous build, but generally you're going to want to start a new project, which will prompt you to create a project folder. So if I come down here and I just do like Meshery demos, just so I can delete it easy later, and then I'm going to give my course folder project a name like demo course, let's say, and then I create the project folder there, and I'm off and good to go. So let's just try a random course. No, let's not. For purpose of the demo, I'll go with something I know that works so I can show you. Alright, so find your course on the map. Once you found your course, I like this one for a test because it's nice and square. You're going to want to set your course area center. So click Set Center, come on the map, and click right around the center of your course. And you'll see it adds a 1 kilometer box around the course. And you're just going to want to dial that back to just big enough for your playable size. This will make sure you only capture the LiDAR you need, but up to you. If you want to process more LiDAR, you can expand that. Once you find the right boundary for you, I switched into this terrain tab, and it should list any LiDAR that's available. So no more searching the USGS API and having issues with that. This just uses the LiDAR data that's on the public AWS bucket, so it's much more stable. So we'll do this. This step also takes a while. You can set your sort of LiDAR resolution. And I should mention that sometimes you'll see multiple data sets here. It's kind of up to you which to choose. Usually I hover over and I look for the year, and I pick the latest year for the data set, just assuming it'll be a little bit better. So let's download the LiDAR. Again, this step will take a while. Kind of pause here. Okay, so once your LiDAR is complete, you should get this green check. You can close this window, and you'll see some stats calculated about your terrain. Give you your height and your min-max, just so you know that there is terrain data there, even though nothing changed on the map. The next thing I'll show you is hillshade, and I think I've still got a bug here where it's not showing you the progress. But if you click that generate hillshade and just wait a minute, it should eventually turn green, and then put your hillshade on the map here, and you can zoom around. I should also show you that you can change your satellite layers to preview different imagery. So for now, let's hide that hillshade. And we can zoom in and we can kind of get an idea of which satellite is better. Usually it's either Google or Bing. This ArcGIS is available, but it's lower resolution, so I only really use it as a backup. I think in this case Bing is looking a little bit better, just color-wise. So we'll do the same thing, generate satellite, come in here and select Bing, and now we'll generate our high-res satellite images. Okay, so satellite's done. This one we don't show on the map because we can just do satellite on the map there. And then the final step is to generate your SVG. You can also import an SVG if it's a course you've already laid out and you want to kind of assemble it in here. But for new courses, generally you're going to generate SVG. And then if you want, you can optionally add OpenStreetMap shapes. And I'll show you real quick. If you switch back to OpenStreetMap and you zoom in on your course, you'll see a lot of these courses have these shapes on them that somebody went and added to their database. So what we can do is, this is still kind of buggy, search only works like half the time, kind of times out. I gotta figure out a better solution for this. Okay, so it found 72 shapes, which is all those fairways and greens on the map. And so now they're going to be in our SVG when we click export. And so it'll give us an option to save this SVG into our course folder. We'll just call it course.svg. We'll save that, and you'll notice it added shapes, and it added our SVG to this map. So I can switch back to the satellite, and I can preview the SVG. And one thing cool about this is it adds Bezier curves to the OpenStreetMap shapes, which are generally pretty rough and jagged. So this at least starts you off with a nice curve. What you'll have to likely do is go and kind of adjust your bunkers and stuff, but it saves you a lot of work of initially laying things out, knowing where things are. So it's real time saver. So now I would generally go into my project folder. If I find it here, Meshery demos, demo course. So I'd want to open my SVG in Inkscape and then edit it. Kind of nudge your paths around, make sure everything looks good. And then you'd want to come back to here and reload that SVG from disk. So I'll do a quick edit here so you can see what I mean. And we'll go back to Meshery and find the bunker that we just edited. And if we do reload from disk, now you can see the changes are there. Okay, I'm going to show you how to generate the meshes now that you've got all your layers, your hillshade, you got a satellite, and you've got your SVG file generated. You go to meshes, hit generate meshes, and then you've got some initial settings for like dig depth for bunkers and water. And this just lets you quickly adjust your defaults for all surfaces. But later you'll be able to kind of customize each shape individually. So most of the time the defaults are generally good. It's a good starting point. Let's hit generate meshes. It'll do the polygons first and then start to generate your meshes. The base takes the most amount of time. The rest kind of go pretty quick once it gets going. Okay, so our meshes have been generated. Close that. We can kind of zoom around and see that it definitely did create some fairways and some greens, tee boxes. And you'll notice that the base, because it's so big, has a lot of spacing in between the triangles. So it makes it kind of low poly. You can go and adjust the spacing of the base or any of these. Zoom to this fairway 0 is this one here. So as you see, what we should be able to do is pull the spacing down. You couldn't really tell much difference there, but there we go. You can get the mesh spacing dialed in. And when you're ready, you can export your course. Got two options. We're starting to experiment with some WebGL stuff. If you're going through the Unity process, you're going to want this OBJ file. Export it. Should open up a place to save it. Save it, and you're done. And there's your OBJ. You're ready to go into Unity.